tell everybody who Menzies is first.
Rebel News has some colorful characters, and one of my favorites is a guy named David Menzies. He's in his early 60s. He wears a fedora. He's got an old-fashioned style. He loves old pop culture references from the 70s. The guy's a character. And he's a shoe leather journalist.
He reported on that trans professor from York who was on the swim team with all the 13-year-old girls and got kicked out of the swimming pool for pointing that out.
You're exactly
right. Which he should have pointed out. Yeah, and the parents let him get away with it too. The professor.
You know what?
I mean, what the hell? Seriously.
David, and how many journalists would dare cover that?
Yeah, well, him.
Yeah. David went up to our deputy prime minister at the time, Freeland, on a public sidewalk at a public event, and it was about Iran. And the Liberals hadn't banned a certain Iranian terror group. And so David, with his lanyard and mic, everyone knew who he was. He went up to her and said, "Will you ban this group?"
Yeah.
And the RCMP swarmed him, pushed him against the wall and said, "Stop assaulting."
Right.
And they arrested him. If the cameras hadn't been there, we all saw that the police assaulted David. They said David assaulted the police.
Yeah.
And they charged him with assault. When they saw that we caught it on tape, they let him go. David's been arrested so many times. During the pandemic, David went outside a Christmas party where Justin Trudeau was going to a fundraiser with the Liberal Party. But this was when we weren't supposed to have Christmas parties. It was during the lockdown.
No, you weren't supposed to have Christmas parties.
And that was David's one question. Why are you having a Christmas party when the rest of us are told not to? So David was waiting in the cold on the street with his cameraman for an hour for Trudeau's caravan to arrive.
COVID was genetically engineered not to infect important people,
Here's how this story ends. So everyone knows Menzies. He's very visible. He's got his camera. He's a cameraman there. There's no doubt who he is and what his purpose is.
Yeah.
And he's waiting with the Toronto Police Service for an hour. They're bantering. They're all just waiting for the prince to arrive. Entourage pulls up. They obviously radioed ahead and said, "Who's there?" "Oh, just Menzies." The RCMP bodyguards for Trudeau jump out of the vehicle, go straight to David, and beat the daylights out of him, smash him against the wall, dump him on the ground, beat him, and then let him go. They don't even arrest him. Let alone charge him. They just beat him up. We're suing the police. Our other reporter in Quebec, Alexa Lavoie, the trucker convoy, Rebel News, that was really our time to shine. The regime media were all on Justin Trudeau's script. This is the Maple Leaf insurrection. This is the January 6th moment for Canada.
Yeah, Trudeau, it wasn't just for Canada either. Like that demonstration triggered all those farmers' protests in the UK, and it was a big deal.
It was huge. It was the time when people paid attention to Canada in an interested, focused way, but Trudeau tried to have the script being these are violent, racist people, fringe minority with unacceptable views. That was his exact
Confederate Nazis. Canada's full of Confederate Nazis.
So we were down there just with our citizen journalists, just filming everything on our phones. And in that month, we had 400 million views and impressions, which is more than the average bunch of the CBC state broadcaster. I believe we helped stop the Trudeau narrative from taking root. Anyways, that trucker convoy was completely peaceful, except one thing. There was one shooting. There were probably 10,000 or tens of thousands of people in Ottawa, and there were echo events all across the country. Who was the shooting? Our reporter, Alexa Lavoie, clearly marked as a reporter, holding her cell phone, filming riot police and truckers. One riot cop with the RCMP takes out his riot gun at close range and shoots her in the leg. Her, the only person in the end, and with the wadding and a huge bruise, and you can hear her screams of pain. And by the way, the police don't offer her help afterwards. They shoot her and go. We're suing the RCMP for that as well. We've discovered that weapon is not meant to be shot at a person. Won't surprise you to learn. You shoot it into an area on the ground and it releases tear gas. And you only do that with that weapon if things are very escalated. If there's like a riot underway, if people are storming something, you do not use that weapon preemptively because there's a bunch of people chanting. So it was used inappropriately, both in terms of manner and time. And is it a coincidence? And this is my conspiracy theory side. Is it a coincidence?
About time we got to those.
That the only person in the country who was shot during the convoy was our reporter. And we complained to the RCMP. We're suing them, but we also complained to them. You know who? The police have an internal complaint system. You know who they assigned it to? You know where the RCMP officer was based who looked into this matter? You're not going to guess, but why don't you guess for fun?
I couldn't tell.
Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
No, I wouldn't have guessed that. I got to tell you.
The RCMP is part of Trudeau's outreach to the Haitian community in Montreal, has RCMP officers stationed in Haiti to teach them how to be cops. You can accept that or not, but that was where the cop who was going to do this investigation of the shooting of Ezra Levant, our reporter, was based. It's so absurd. And the RCMP...
So what's the status of that investigation?
We're still proceeding. Oh, the investigation?
Yeah, and the court case.
A whitewash.
Yeah, of course.
David Menzies arrested 5 times. Ezra Levant shot. We brought our whole team to Montreal to cover the curfew. I don't know if you remember, but Montreal had a curfew.
Yeah, I know.
I think from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Sick or not, jabbed or not, you couldn't leave your house.
Yeah, I know.
Now, journalists were exempt, as if journalists are some higher class. So we had a reporter who would go out, and the police would hassle him. So then we sent 3, and the police will hassle them. And I said, damn it, we're bringing the whole team. So we brought 17 rebels into town. And I thought, well, I wonder if there's an Airbnb we could all fit in, because that's a lot of hotel rooms. And I found an Airbnb, like a houseboat in the old port of Montreal, where we could all fit. It had room for 24 people.
Summer, winter? When were you there?
This was, I think it was the spring.
Okay.
I want to double check that.
That's okay.
But we were there to do reporting on the streets during the curfew because the cops had been pushing around our people. And we brought a lawyer with us. And we're walking the streets at midnight, and we have a lawyer with us on the ground to engage with Montreal French-speaking police en français, just to flex our muscles. And by the way, the Montreal police had never seen journalists out and about because they're so incurious and so obedient in the regime media that they would never think to report on this absurd curfew. So we had a great night out. We did curfew reporting late at night. Then we all go to our Airbnb houseboat, and then we get up the next morning, and there's going to be a protest. Well, wouldn't you know it, but the old port of Montreal just happens to be the staging area for the police for this huge. So 50 police cars show up, and they find out that's where the rebel news people are. So they seal off our houseboat with yellow police tape, and they come on our little houseboat and say, we're searching this place. Well, and I was off the boat at that time, but our youngsters...
Had you flushed the cocaine by then?
Our youngsters know to say, where's your warrant? I'm so proud of our young people. And they all said, get a warrant. And the cops said, you're going to play that way. They sealed off our boat, and for the next 10 hours, they wanted to search every person and every room.
For what?
It's not yet clear. I think they just wanted to...
Yeah, well, of course.
And we said, come back with a warrant. And I don't think they're used to being talked to that way.
Yeah.
For 10 hours, they shopped this around Quebec to try and find a judge. And God bless it, they couldn't find a judge to give them a search warrant.
Well, thank God for that. That's an amazing thing in and of itself.
That's the miracle of the story.
That's for sure. Thank God.
Now, we sued them, and they actually settled. They settled because they harassed a bunch of our people. They paid a bunch of our different journalists a certain sum of money. And then they wrote a letter, sort of a grudging, ironic apology, but it basically said, well, we didn't know who you were, and you always had your journalistic rights. And we sued the Montreal police. They paid our people, the people who were roughed up. They arrested Menzies.
Yeah, of course.
And they took him to a crappy
Seems
jail.
like his fate.
Yeah, you know, Menzies, he's stubborn in a good way. And you don't want everyone in the world to be stubborn in a good way, but you want a few. I always like to say he's one in a million. Pause. Thank God.
Yeah, right.
It's a joke.
Right.
He's actually a national treasure. There's only a handful of journalists who are on the street. A lot of journalists just sit at their desk and Google. How about get out into the world? You never know what you're going to see.